Hello, I'm CJ Miller. I'm in my kitchen in Shreveport, Louisiana, downtown. Across the Red River is beautiful Bossier City, Louisiana. And so, what is about to happen? Art Space. There is also, I think that's going on this weekend, Cinco de Mayo. Festivals going on all sorts of places, including downtown. Towards the end of the month, we're going to have what we call Mudbug Madness, which is, I've done some videos before. I like to go as often as I can to this. I do it once a year. It basically celebrates Louisiana culture through food, especially some of our seafoods like crawfish and things. So that's kind of cool that we have that here in the Northwest, because most people think of Louisiana and Cajun food. They just put it all together, and then we forget, that Northwest Louisiana also has a very rich Cajun history. As a matter of fact, Louisiana doesn't have a just a straight up claim on that. Emeril Lagasse, we got, the famous, the BAM guy. I'm going to tell you about this in a second. I actually worked for one of his restaurants. I didn't care for it very much. But anyway, he is from St. Louis, and that is right smack dab in the line of the traditional Louisiana Territory, which doubled the size of the nation when it was acquired from the French, And they just, I don't know. I don't know how they got, literally, I guess France was like, yeah, we're done, whatever. But it was a good deal. But anyway, not to take away from the fact that we were, not to distract from the fact that we were pushing the indigenous peoples away. But anyway, the Acadians from Canada made their way all the way down through that traditional area of the Louisiana Purchase, all the way down to Louisiana, and settled in parts of Louisiana, especially around the delta of the Mississippi River. And they became, the Acadians became Cajuns, And then later on, a good bit of what you would call Creole influence, which basically is just a multicultural thing. It includes French people of a French background who are not born in France are considered Creole, and most typically there is a blending of cultures in the bloodline, a blending of the bloodline. So it's not just a French heritage in the bloodline, but a lot of other things. And that's, we consider that Creole. And then Cajun, they are specifically from the line of people who came down from Arcadia, Canada, and came all the way down to Louisiana. And then, of course, now they're almost used interchangeably. You really just have to know. And honestly, the Creole and the Cajun cultures are so closely neighbored that they're practically, it's practically the same. There are some purists who would have a heart attack hearing me say that, but whatever. Bite it. I've not been bitten in a while. Okay, so but yeah, Mudbug Madness, that's how I got off on that. But Emeril Lagasse, I worked for, and I worked front of the house, but we did get a lot of tutelage in cuisine because we had to talk about the food and work the sales and everything like that. So, you people come in. The restaurant was Delmonico's. Now, I was down in New Orleans before it was Emeril Lagasse's Delmonico, but he bought it and it became Emeril Lagasse's Delmonico, and he had 3 or 4 other restaurants down there at the time. But it, Delmonico is restaurant that started in New York, and there were 3 or 4 of them in major, cities, usually along the east. Uh, and the family Delmonico, I think it was a family name. I'm almost certain that it was. They coined the phrase for the way that they cut their fillet, which was nearly it was a different cut of the fillet, a very thicker cut of the fillet. And sometimes people would come in and they would get a fillet, and then they would like, by the way, do you want to take the fillet, and do you want to um, do you want us to butterfly it so it'll cook? And it's like, why would you buy a fillet if you want to, if you just, So it was like, there were some things that maybe you just didn't quite know what you were doing. But everything was cooked to order. But also, if you're going to buy a fillet, wonderful, delicious fillet, you want it on the plate looking like a fillet, not something else. Not, the brand of this restaurant is Delmonico, based upon the cut of the fillet that you're calling a Delmonico steak. You've created a steak, and it's given a brand, an ambassador to this name. It's got, and then you say, oh, by the way, never mind this special cut that we have coined our entire business model and personality after. We'll just butterfly it, and that is not what you should do with a $60 steak or whatever they're charging these days. So yeah. I know people who would just, die if you can't take that fine of a steak. Now, I don't do here at home. I just do cuts that I get, and that's what I'm doing. And this is the seasoning for the steak that I'm going to do. I'm going to turn my fire down. I've got the steaks in the pan going already, so I can do a sprinkle and first flip in a second. New York strip is what I'm working with, and they are about an inch thick. You can go thicker if you want, but you want to do this on, get it a good searing on one side. Keep it just above that low, in between the low and medium, and maybe you want it to cook, but you want it to cook and be tender, so you want to get a good searing. I've got just a little bit of oil on the bottom of the pan, so that helps because I don't have a grill top and everything. The best way to do a steak is to grill it or London broil it. Okay, in this bowl, and you see the amount, just enough to kind of coat the bottom of the pan here, or the bowl here. I've got a salt substitute, MSG. I've got an equal amount of black peppercorn ground. Then I've got some red pepper or ground cayenne pepper, and then I have, what else? An equal amount to that of garlic, powdered garlic, an equal amount of that of onion. And so a lot of these seasonings and flavors are going to sound familiar. The reason why I used MSG is to cut out the sodium. There's a far less amount of sodium in MSG, or that salt substitute. The brand that I have on hand is Accent, but you can find other brands. So yeah, I think that's all I worried with. And the reason why is I'm going to, and it's about time for me to come over here now. So over here, I'm going to just mix this up. Just take it by the fingerful over here, and just kind of over each side of this steak, just a little bit more. Don't be so OCD about how much or whatever. These are the same types of seasonings that you'll find in many of your blended seasoning mixes. So it's okay to do this for yourself, and it'd be great if you had like fresh. And then I'm going to maybe grab the fork, give this a turn. It's probably just a touch too much oil in the bottom of this pan. you don't necessarily want to cook, especially if you're going to go higher with the heat. You definitely don't want to use oil in a Teflon skillet. But if you're going low heat like I'm doing, like maybe right between the medium and low, then you can sort of do that. Like, and I would say, uh, give a good slow sear to it. But that's good. And then what I'm going to do on this side is I'm going to take some more of this seasoning, just put it right onto the steak. And the reason why I'm not, some of these steak seasonings they'll say there's a lot of oregano, parsley, that type of stuff. Not in this sprinkle that I'm putting on the steak, and I'm doing very well. If you want to, if you're not diabetic, you can put in just a touch of brown sugar. The one other thing that I put in here, just to give it a questionable when you get it, you'll say, a curiosity to it, a curiosity to the flavor, a good balance, something that brings all this together, just slightly exotic. I took I used about a teaspoon of each one of those ingredients that I named off. The MSG, the ground peppercorn, the onion powder, the garlic powder, and the red pepper. And to give that just a touch of something that's a little bit different, a little bit of a personality, I used maybe 1/8 of a teaspoon of powdered ginger. Why? Because why not? Because I had it on hand. You can use anything to this effect. It's going to be okay. Let's give this a good, let this sit here. Maybe I'm going to, with this, you can watch your stove if you know how it cooks, if you're doing stovetop, and just kind of go back and forth. Okay, and I've got a little extra of this if I want to sprinkle some on at the finish. But what's really, and I may do that, but what I really have here is my steak topper. Now I'm going to use blue cheese, but this is unsalted butter. And what I have is just an Italian seasoning blend. And as this butter softens, I'm just going to kind of mash into it with my fork and kind of blend these butters together. With this unsalted butter is what I use. If you're in a store and you see something labeled sweet cream butter is the exact same thing as unsalted butter. The exact same thing in almost all brands. Now, there may be some high-end gourmet butters that may differentiate and say this is an unsalted butter and this is a sweet cream butter with, sugar added or honey added or something like that. Here's the thing about sugar. Regardless of where it comes from, it's just like table salt. Regardless of where it comes from, salt is just like salt, and sugar, regardless of where it comes from, whether it comes from sugar cane, whether it's derived from sugar is sugar. So if you use sugar, don't fool yourself into thinking that the white sugar is somehow more nutritional, or maybe the brown sugar is somehow more nutritional or something like that. Listen, if you're on a diet where you need to watch your sugars, you do want to cut back on your starches. Your starches convert to sugar in your body, but also don't fool yourself into thinking that one type of sugar is better than another type of sugar. It's better to look into some other sweeteners if you're really needing a sweetness or whatever. I do know the challenges of moderation. Okay, so I do have some of these extra spices. I don't know that I want to overdo it too much, but it's great. But I don't want to waste it. So what I could do with something like this is, if I've got, especially for quick use, if I'm going to use it the next day or so like that, if I've got, some powdered seasoning container that's empty, then I can just add this to that, or if I've got, or low or something like, um, but I also keep one of this is your basic salt shaker, and whenever I do something like this in a bowl and I have additional extra seasoning, I just kind of like dump it and kind of keep it and use it. So this primarily is Old Bay seasoning that I put out on the table at a dinner party sometime so that people could use. Put just a pinch of this in this. Although it's going to be all over the steak, I don't know. I think this may just be like a redundancy of it. But whatever, makes me feel interesting. So, so Old Bay seasoning, and a lot of these are kind of, sans the celery salt. Also, the recipe that I just gave you, sans the ginger, and if you add some oregano and parsley, is almost the exact same ingredient listing for a product called, all-purpose Greek seasoning that is Cavender's, this right here. But I love, because I know how to do this, and I do as much as anything, I invest in my seasonings and spices. So, this is just, I was going to make a little sauce with this. I never did put that back the other day. I was going to make a sauce with it. But let me go ahead and put this over there out of the way. But I'd love to, like whenever I cook, I love flavor. I know that I have, dietary cautions. I don't want to become diabetic. I don't want to sabotage the work that I'm doing. If I go to a gym and have a workout, then I don't want to come home and eat a bunch of foods that are just going to be counterproductive to the efforts that I'm trying. So protein, high protein. Now, the irony is carbs are protein, but I mean a low carb or no carb protein. Meat is a different type of protein than a carbohydrate. Although scientifically they're both proteins. They're different types of proteins, and nutritionally there's a differentiation that we'll say. It's kind of like saying, oh, this is organic food because it's entirely natural. I don't know that this is or not, because I don't know how these herbs were brought and grown, and none of these seasonings that I have are saying, organic. And I know a cow is not Wagyu. I mean, this thing was probably abused its entire life. Like, you're gonna die and be a steak, but it's horrible. But I just don't have $300 for a steak, Anyway, it's a doggy. I'm sorry. It's a cow eat cow world, or whatever. I don't know. Yeah. What I'm doing is something on a high heat. You want to do something called a 3 with the steak. If it's a really, really good hot steak, you want to do something called a 3, 3, and 3 rule. And that's 3 minutes on one side, flip it, 3 minutes on the other. And then after that, turn it down and do a good 3 minutes on each side again. So 3 minutes on one side at high, 3 minutes on the other side at high, and then reduce it, and 3 minutes on each side, and you're supposed to get it perfect. I don't know. I've never really gone by that, but if you ever want to do a steak ratio, check out for about a 1-inch steak that's at room temperature or whatever. I just kind of go by the feeling. Sometimes when I do a steak, it gets too done, which is fine. I never get it to where I never like burn a steak up and shrivel it and make it dry as hell. But sometimes I want the flavor of a good medium. if I go medium. Maybe I can stand it a little less than medium. For something like this, it's just going to go straight on a plate. But I'm going to eat one of these around midnight, which is now basically. I'm looking at my clock. It's 11:30. That's my midnight is between 11 and 1, and that's kind of cool. And the only thing that I've had today was a piece. Well, the 2 pieces of chicken. That chicken that I had the other day, and I made a video of it. I had 2 pieces of that, and that was my lunch. All that it was. And so I will have the steak. I do have a piece of fish, but I'm going to save from yesterday, but I'm going to leave that in the fridge, and I'm going to have that with the other piece of the steak that I'm going to have. Maybe one steak now, one steak later on if I really get hungry, and I can have a piece of fish with it or something like that. But it's keto diet. That's what I'm really doing. And the reason why is because about 9 a.m. I'm going to be doing a Google review on the Cotton Bowl Grill, which I love. It's a local diner, but they're doing a new Cajun brunch kind of thing that I'm going there with my sister and her partner, and we're going to check out and see what their take on a good Cajun, with their menu looked great, so we'll just see. Their regular fare is really great, so I'm interested in wondering what they're going to bring as far as their, it's coming up on crawfish season. We got crawfish going on now. It actually is crawfish season. It must be. People are selling crawfish, so I don't know, but I don't think I'm doing. I don't know. I'll tell you what. I'll make a video. A brief video, like a short of what I order or something like that, and then I'll post it. But yeah, because it's novel for us, Okay, let me pause the video, give these a quick flip, and we'll see what's up. I know they're not done yet. Not enough for me. They're still very rare on the inside. All right, you know what? I'm not actually going to have to save any of this powder blend that I have, powdered seasoning blend. Basically because I flipped them and then I sprinkled down a little bit more, and then I've got one more flip. And by the time I do that second sprinkling, it will be wonderful. I will probably just use it as the garnish on whatever I'm going to serve this on. And I say serve it, I'm the one eating it. Who am I serving it to but myself? And then I've got this butter that's softened, and I'm going to come over here and mash it up a little bit so that I can put some of this on the steak with the blue cheese, and then I'll put a little wrapper on what I don't use on the Italian seasoning butter, and I can have that with the second piece. And so, yeah, there we go. I'm going to do just a touch of cleanup and get ready to eat, and I'm going to pause the video. See you after the click. If you want to, you can make this herb butter with whatever kind of herbs that you like, really, and make it as long as you keep it sealed, kind of airtight, it will go in your fridge for as long as the butter will last in your fridge without getting expired, provided like this is not, because it's kind of like open air, but if you like kind of soften it and then mash the butter up and then get it right back in. But you do want to remember that bacteria loves food as well as we do. So, don't leave these things out too long exposed. Maybe if I weren't about to eat half of this, and then maybe in a couple of hours, I'm going to refrigerate. But like if I were doing this for other people, I would keep a lid over this in between while it was softening, while I'm putting my herbs and mashing it and everything. So this is horrible. I'm using the same fork to turn the meat and then coming over here and mashing up the butter. But it's a steak, so whatever. But that's not the way you would want to do this if you were cooking for other people. You'd want to use a clean, fresh utensil for each thing that you do. And I do when I have company over, but if it's just me, whatever. I'll suck it up, I just did that final turn. Go ahead and turn off the stove completely. Come over here, kind of shake on. I'm gonna pause this and dust this bowl out with my finger, just my finger. And it is something really nice to have a touch of seasoning left on the, for the table, so that's kind of cool. So here I've taken the remainder of the dust that was in that bowl and just put on this lovely clean plate. But that's just going to be a little speckling of garnish. Okay, and then I'm going to take, this one looks good. Put it right here. This is also the same fork I'm going to eat with because I'm, whatever. I'm going to reach into the fridge, grab some blue cheese. I love blue cheese, love it. I would not want to have to do without it. Most blue cheese does contain some saltiness, go for it. It's this seasoning blend. I'm telling you, it's got that spiciness to it, but it's also got that wonderful enriching MSG salt substitute, giving it a nice saltiness. I'm fixing to take the herb butter and dollop right on top of the blue cheese, actually. And the reason why I put the blue cheese on first is I kind of want to slow down the melting of the butter. If I took the melted butter and then the softened butter and put it right on top of a hot steak, it would start melting immediately. I kind of want to savor that a little bit. So the herb butter here, and it's no, it looks like it's going right on top of the blue cheese. It's going right all over everywhere except for the blue cheese. Okay, so there we go, and that's kind of that bed of blue cheese is kind of gonna soften it for me. If I had put it directly on, it would start melting immediately. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna put these things up, get this butter put away properly, and so that I can have some in a few hours when I'm hungry again. And then I'm gonna come taste this. So hang on. All right, so you have to use these seasonings, whether you do them fresh and smashed up or whether you get them, in the jars, whichever brand you use. I mean, you just remember a good seasoning will go for a few months on the shelf, but after about 6 months, and even that's maybe a little bit long. Don't get seasonings just to have them if you're not going to use them. Use your seasoning, use your spice rack. Maybe not as much as I've used mine for here. Maybe you want less flavor. Believe me, there's going to be a natural amount of steak flavor coming through with this steak. Just looking at it, I can see this is going to be nice and juicy. I'm going to give a good cut. Hang on. I need to put the phone down. I don't have 3 hands. Okay. So this is what I would call a really good medium well, leaning towards well, really. And it's so juicy because it cooked so slowly. Yeah, we're going to go medium well on here is what I'm going to call this. There's not, anything if it's medium, there'd be a lot more juice coming out of it. Pinkish, not really red, like a red rare, meat, But, when I was younger, I was such a picky kid. I would not eat a beef like this if it wasn't well done, And then I kind of loved how we'd go to the Western Sizzler, is what we called it, one of those buy a steak, eat a buffet kind of thing. But they would bring or Bonanza. Do you guys remember? There are still Bonanzas, I think. But I would get the hamburger steak or whatever, and they'd bring it out on that hot plate, and it would still be sizzling at the table, and they'd say, "Be careful, it's hot," and it's like, no kidding. And then, of course, I'd reach over and touch it and burn myself anyway. Let's give this a taste. I've noticed that I've started slurring since I sit down at this table. It's like I'm salivating. Uh, but yeah. Okay. It's a really good beef. Really good cut of beef. There's that natural beef flavor. You know what I'm talking about. That really good um, steak flavor. And it's still rich because this isn't so dried out that we've cooked out all the flavor. But we get the play of the natural seed. I mean, we get that natural flavor next to all this other flavor that's sitting on top of it. So I'm going to have some butter here. Oh my God, my poor arteries. Very tender. Very tender. So if this were thinner, or if I had hammered it out, which I don't like that. I live in an apartment on the third floor, and my downstairs neighbor, her very loud children have a conniption if I make too much noise. It's like, okay, you've got elementary school age children, and uh, I don't know I, what y'all do down there. I do not know, but oof. Anyway, do you know that commercial? You've seen it online where they're talking about what to do if you've got like downstairs neighbors that have like all night dance parties. Uh, they really don't all the time, but sometimes they do, and it's like really. Uh, so don't have a conniption if I uh, want to flatten some meat. What I would do here basically, instead of pounding this 1 inch steak, is I actually would cut into it and I would butterfly this and then put it between two pieces of plastic and then kind of tap it out. But I don't, I can't really like, you know, uh, pound on the steak or anything like that, or a chicken or anything like that. So it's you know, my solution to that is thinner cutting. I've got some fun things that I want to do, some changes, some different things that I haven't done, or at least not done in a while, as far as food coming up. But I just need to make the groceries first. See, in Louisiana, especially down south, in down New Orleans, we don't say we're going to the grocery store. We say we're going to make groceries. It's not like we just materialize them. But yeah, we're going to make groceries. That means we got to make it to the store to get the groceries. Make groceries. So, yeah. Okay. You want to have something to drink. My favorite. And you notice, as spicy as that looked, all that food, all that red pepper and everything, I didn't take a bite and then like, oh my God, that's not um, the type of seasoning that I do. It's not that crazy. Oh my God, let's try this hot sauce and bite this pepper that's probably going to be so stupidly hot that you'll be lucky if you don't have a coronary from the hotness. That's not what I do. That's not what a peppery flavor is about. It's not about making a 4 alarm or 5 alarm flavor in your mouth. It is about accentuating the other flavors and pairing with them, uh, mingling with them, not overpowering them, and certainly not making it so horrible of a hotness that you can't stand it. And so if you have people who are a little bit more sensitive to pepper, just use less of the seasoning. Or you can leave out the pepper, or whatever. I don't know. Um, if this were a sauce, if I had made this in a sauce and I'd leaned a little bit more towards the cracked peppercorn, especially with a less fine ground on it, then it would be called an au poivre uh, in 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 a traditional French or an Italian. An au poivre means with pepper, you know, and beef goes really well with the pepper. But that blend that I did that I showed you of the seasonings would work well with beef, like I've done here. But it would work well with also pork that you're going to do in a pan or pot roast or something like that. It would really, really go really, really well with the pot roast, a picnic roast or something. My sister is a wonderful cook, and if I tell you that she makes the best pork roast I have ever eaten, I don't know what her secret is. And she's one of these, a lot like me, but you ask her, hey, how do you do it? And she's like, you know what? I just do it. She's that's one of her things that she can do. She can do that pork roast really, really well. And she's not going to tell you what she does. I don't know. Maybe she knows what she's doing, but maybe that's something she's hanging on, but it's, yeah. Okay. So, good night. God bless. Love and light. I'm going to finish my steak. Bon appetit.